Hey, this is Coach Kinsey Shae here with Bobby Merwin. And
hello.
Today we're going to really talk about reinventing yourself, really exploring, strategies for how to pivot in life and reinvent yourself. And looking at it from a coach perspective and a counselor perspective, and just to gain perspective in life. And before we get going, just like, subscribe, do all that fun jazz. Push that notification bell, and so you don't miss every week on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, Bobby.
Hi. So we should let people know we were talking, obviously, because we talk before we start this up. And we were looking at things that we might do. And I have never heard you have such problems reading. It's because we were talking about the allergy issues that you're having. Is this another Gen X thing? Should we talk about this? Because I'll tell you, it wasn't until I was 30-something that I had allergies. And all of a sudden they just hit me like a baseball bat.
Exactly. At least I have my voice this week, so that's good.
You do, and you sound raspy.
Lovely. But
yeah, the other week, it sounded like one of those 1-900 numbers from the 90s.
I know. Hello.
Hi, reached Kinsey. Hello.
Oh, so reinventing yourself as a Gen Xer. Yeah.
Yeah, we put something up there about that, didn't we?
There's
that. Oh, gosh. Okay, so exploring strategies for career pivots and personal reinvention in midlife. It brings up the question, how many... What?
We're in midlife.
We are.
Huh?
Yeah. Huh? I'm going to grab my cane and go get in my Porsche. Yeah. It begs the question now, because we're the ones that are running this show. How many times? Now, we know that you had a huge tragedy a few years ago where you had an accident, and that was a reinvention for you. And I would say multiple layers, if I'm being, even close to honest. But how many times, Kinsey, do you think that you have had to reinvent yourself because of your age and because of what is going on around you, and you're traveling in this Gen X vestibule as you're going through life? How has that forced you to reinvent yourself?
I think in my journey of life, I have reinvented myself multiple times. I think most people on a whole, like when they graduate high school, they're reinventing themselves. And then when they get done with college, they're embracing a new identity in their career. That was very much the case with me going into the culture of nursing in that age. We had a culture of nurses eating their young. You had to prove yourself. I think that's kind of subsided a little bit, but still part of the culture. Being a married woman, I had to reinvent myself, and then being a divorced woman.
There you go. Wow. Yeah, I should have started writing those down. Okay, how many was that? What? Wow.
I know. It's been several. It's been several. And now I'm reinventing myself now, being, at the latter part of my 40s, in my career. And I mean, I'm still a nurse, but I'm doing my coaching, I'm doing my speaking. And so I think life isn't a destination, it's a journey. So embracing, the good with the bad, and leveraging the mishaps or missteps as, golden opportunities to know yourself is key.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, you're dead on. And I like what you said, and I like all of the reinventions. This is not aimed at you, but you've heard the term basic bitch before.
Yeah.
And you said one of those basic bitch signs, like, life isn't a destination, it's a journey.
It is.
I couldn't help. I started to snicker as you said that. And I went, God, let's check the unprofessional level. Oh, that's really high. I'm just laughing as you're saying that. But yeah, it just reminds me of, those signs you walk into, Hobby Lobby, and there's that whole rack of all of those signs. It cracks me up.
It's true though.
It is. It doesn't mean that it's not true. No,
Yeah.
it totally is true. It is not a destination. It is a journey. And the thing that separates us from the generation previous to us and the generation behind us, I believe one of the main things is how many times we have had to reinvent ourselves. I think that people in the generation previous to us, I think that they were kind of company men. You know, they were like, you know, I'm Darren Stevens. I know that I'm dating myself. So anybody that's under 35, just look up Bewitched and watch an episode, okay? And you'll figure out the Darren Stevens reference. But Darren Stevens was a company man, you know, and he was going to do whatever he needed to do for Tate and whoever the company was. And they didn't have as many jobs. And now, I don't know if I've ever told you this, but before I was 45 years old, I had over 50 jobs in my life. I had no identity. I think that growing up without grandparents, growing up with my mom died early, so I grew up with one parent. I didn't have aunts and uncles or anything like that around, so I just skinned my knee everywhere I went and had to figure it out from there. So that was my figuring out, was going from job to job. And then you have people behind us that either are enabled, you know, because there is family money to enable them to do things, or they just don't want to work. It's not to put them down. It's just that how that generation is kind of gone. And I've noticed such a poor attitude towards actually having a job, and they don't take pride in it. Now, again, that's not everybody. I'm not trying to cast a blanket here, but the consensus that I get is that there's a poor work ethic, whereas, you know, the generation previous to us, the work ethic was better than mine, I would say.
Well, and it's not just generational. I mean, I think it's regional too. You know,
did you say regional?
Regional, meaning
I would agree.
Yeah, because I grew up very much in the Midwest, and there was no excuses not to go to work. You had to be like death or dying, like, you know, and there was no excuse for not showing up.
Yes, I get you. My parents were from Minnesota, so you had an excellent work ethic. If you needed to go to work, you went to work. My dad said if you didn't have a job, if you weren't looking for a job 8 hours a day, you're not looking for a job.
Right.
Yeah.
So just really looking at, you know, just taking stock of where you're at. This isn't judgment. This is awareness, because if you want to envision a new future, you kind of need the dot on the map where you are, because you can't really get directions to that unless you put in your GPS where you're at.
Well said. Can't argue with that.
Yeah.
That was well said.
Yeah.
And you know, transferring a little bit when we're looking at the I gotta move my screen so I can read it. Pivoting personal and reinventing in midlife. That's it's tougher than one thinks. People that are younger than us look at us and they look up to us in a certain way and say, oh, you guys have it all together. And we're looking down at them going like, you have no idea how I'm holding this shit together with, you know, baling string and duct tape. You have no idea.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But it's about knowing your place and knowing what you're trying to do. And you as a coach and me as a counselor, we know that people no man is an island, as my dad used to say. You know, sometimes you got to go out and get some help. Sometimes you need to ask questions. Sometimes you need to get that coaching. Sometimes you need to get that counseling. And our lives, our professional lives and what we do in this realm, they overlap beautifully. Because you're a coach that counsels and I'm a counselor that coaches.
Right. It's not absolute.
News at 11.
It's not absolute. I mean, you do have coaches that are just in the coaching. You know, it's just task. And then you have counselors that are just in, you know, just the feedback and, you know, totally just doing the the strategy and listening and doing that biofeedback and whatever, or the talk therapy.
Yeah.
But I think when you marry the two, it's super powerful. Very much so. So
Yeah. And you are absolutely right. I totally agree.
yeah. And the thing is like your identity, it isn't what you do. I want that to make that very clear, because when you let go of that belief, you don't validate your worth by your paycheck. You don't validate your worth by your job title. You validate your worth by how you be, meaning that you look at yourself, your essence, your truth. And that it gives so much power in your essence and how you
I
show
love
up.
that you said that.
Yeah.
I do. I love that you said that, because a lot of people, when they're trying to start a conversation, they say, so what do you do for a living? Oh, so what do you do for work?
Mm-hmm.
I always like to say, what keeps you busy? So what keeps you busy? Because then they could choose. They
Yeah.
might want to talk about their work, but they might want to talk about the fact that when they're not at work, they're painting, or they're on Etsy and they make teddy bears, or whatever, something that gives them some sort of fulfillment.
Yeah.
Because again, back in our day, or previous to our day, you were extremely defined by your work.
Exactly.
And what you did and what you brought in. And I mean, that's never really went terribly down, but it was there was a lot of comparing yourself to the Joneses, as they say.
Yes.
Yeah. Do we need to have some sort of a old person thesaurus going on here, that we could just have this drop down thing, so that anybody that's under 30 can look at this and go, what did that old guy just say? The old guy in the funny cowboy shirt, he said something. I'm trying to look this up.
I love it. I love it. No, when I meet people, I usually ask them, what makes you you? And I can get a good parameter of like where their mindset is just by how they answer that.
I think being a counselor, that would be rough. So one of the things that we run into as a counselor, it's so funny. So people say, so what do you do for a living? Because that's their opening. And I say, oh, I'm an LPC. And then about 10% of the time they know what that is. And either that, and if they do know what it is, they're actually more relaxed.
Right.
So I say I'm an LPC, and they go, oh, that's got to be fulfilling, or, oh, that's got to be a challenge, or whatever. And I say, yeah, and such. And then if they say, what's an LPC? And I say, licensed professional counselor, and they make this move. It's always that move that their head goes back like 6 inches, like, oh, so you're analyzing me. I'm like, no, I don't go around all day long analyzing people. That's just way too fatiguing. That is a cog that I have to spin up to do that. I like to shut that down and not have to do that. But
right.
yeah.
Exactly. So in this space that, I just really want to press upon people and just gain perspective. Like, where are you at? Where are you identifying yourself by your job, by your car? Are you identifying yourself by your essence, by your gracious heart, by your love for other people? Are you where are you at? Because that will give you vital information going forward. Because material things such as job, cars, all those materialistic things, those have a tendency to go away as we get older. So what is going to hold importance? And this will give you, these are your values. Like if you have a passion for art, or you have a passion for whatever, that will give you energy and light going forward,
Yeah.
And so finding those hobbies, I find that a lot of people, they go, oh, when I retire, I'm going to paint. Or when I retire, I'm going to travel. And what often happens is you don't regulate your body to accept that. So when you retire, you think of everything you don't have. And quite often they have a shorter lifespan because they don't know how to pivot.
I would agree with that.
Mhm.
Nothing in there that you said I could disagree with. That the the amount of effort that unfortunately goes into, again, keeping up with the Joneses. And while you were talking and you were on such a good move, I didn't want to do it, but I just wanted to raise my hand. I'm like, that was me 4 years ago.
Right.
I had I had the badass Mustang. I had the big house. I had the yard. I had the bikes. I had all of the stuff, and then
Yeah.
gone.
Right.
It's just all gone.
Yeah.
You go through that divorce and those things happen. So that was my identity. And that is sad to say, but I can admit it because I was identifying myself by all of the things that I had worked up to. Look what I worked to get. Check me out. And
Validating.
now I have 1/10 of that.
Yeah.
And I am so much happier now than I was
Right.
3 years ago.
Exactly.
And if you told me 3 years ago, check this out, Bobby, you're going to lose all this stuff. I think this is some sort of a biblical reference, and I'm not even a biblical person, but I think it was a Job thing or something where, God said, I'm going to, take all this from you and you're still going to believe in me. And he did, type thing. So it'd be like, if you told me, 3 years from now, you're going to have 10% of this, you're going to lose all this money, you're going to have all these lawyers, carry the 4, but you're going to be happier. I go, ha, okay, whatever. Shut up. Have another beer. You're an idiot.
I know.
It's the truth. It is the honest to God truth. And I'm not saying that just because I'm trying to, win voters here. I'm serious. It is. I am happier today at 1/10 of what I had fiscally and tangibly than I was 3+ years ago. So your identity and how you see yourself is really important to, it's the correlation causation thing. Like, how much stress is that going to give you? Because I also look back at the stress that I had at that moment. That was also higher because I was running my own company and, heavy is the head that wears the crown. Right. And it was a pain in my butt. So,
yeah. And I think, like the women that I coach, this is the thing that they struggle with. Like, what is my identity? There's a shift inside of me and I don't know how to navigate that. And, in my coaching, we really look at values and boundaries because that will give you a pathway forward of
absolutely.
what is in alignment with you. I can tell you do this, do that, and whatever. But if it's not in alignment, it's kind of a wasted space, meaning that you can't really embrace it as your own. But if we look at your values and we incorporate your boundaries in that, we can kind of plot out and navigate where you want to go with your emotional intelligence, where you want to go with your goals, where you want to go just in your essence. It's super powerful. And many people adopt their beliefs from society, from their parents, and they say, that's me, that's my beliefs. But deep down, they don't feel it. So it's not
absolutely.
It's not their value. It's not their belief. It was just osmosis.
Yes. Yes, it's become an indoctrined value.
Yeah.
It's something that's passed down. And we all have that. You have that. I have that. We all have that. We get that passed down from our parents. But then I talk about, you said something about boundaries. I added a word to it. I call it, cognitive boundaries. Like, I want you to think about what your boundaries are. Who are you going to date? What are your parameters for who you are going to date? What is important to you? Not what's cool, not what, Facebooky says to do, not what TikTok says to do. What is important to you? So take a moral inventory of that, a fearless moral inventory, and say, yes, I don't mind if I date a guy that's 5'6", as long as he's nice, because there's a lot of things about height. There's a lot of things about weight. There's a lot of things about bald guys, whatever. What is really important to you? Does that really matter or not? Ask yourself. So I like what you're saying about that, because we have to take that inventory and create boundaries for what we are willing to do and want and not want. So.
I call them integrity boundaries because it's based on your integrity, who you are.
Integrity boundaries.
Yeah.
Okay, I
Yeah.
like that too.
Yeah. Just like
Hmm.
integrity contracts, meaning that
I might like that better than mine. I might have to do some editing now. Integrity boundaries. I like that. Why didn't I think of that?
Yeah.
Huh. I didn't have the integrity to think of it. Hey, look at that.
I know.
Yeah, that's good. That's it.
Mhm.
That's going in the book. Yep, good.
Give me credit,
the book
man.
right now. I just grabbed the book. Hold on, I gotta write it down. That's good.
But,
Integrity boundaries. Yeah, but it's true. That is nailing it, you know. I said
exactly.
fearless moral inventory. That is checking out your integrity. So I should have made that connection there. Integrity
Right.
boundaries. Yep. Good. Keeping that. Okay. It's not about me.
Yep. But also, I think as a whole in this time and space, just really looking at, our energy. We all have masculine energy. We all have feminine energy. A lot of women that I coach, they're very much feel constrained by always facilitating masculine energy, that structure where their feminine energy cannot flow. They don't,
Oh, because they have to live in the masculine world too
yeah,
much. Like they have to do too many things that are like, okay, like know your role type thing. Okay, I think I get you what you're saying.
yeah. So really, as men and women, I think embracing, especially our generation, where we might see it as woo-woo, it really is not. When you're talking about energy and so forth. But I'm very much in really tapping into your heart energy and really having the structure of the masculine energy where it's a container for your feminine energy to flow, because that's your essence, that's your power as a woman. It's that your femininity.
So what I'm getting is it's okay for a woman to be feminine and a man to be masculine.
Yes.
Yeah. That sounds like a meme that you have that you wanted to
It
share.
does.
It does. Let me move my screen so I can see the whole thing. What does it say? Our generation is becoming so busy trying to prove that women can do what men can do that women are losing their uniqueness. Women weren't created to do everything a man can do. Women were created to do everything a man can't do. Wow. I can't argue with that. I just can't, because I often talk about the differences, and I like to call them positive differences between men and women. I said if there's 300 things that we can do as human beings, 300, there's 125 that women can do better than men, and there's 125 that men can do better than women. And that doesn't make us less than. It makes us different. Nobody is less than. It just means that we're different. And I don't know why it has more or carries more weight that a man might be physically stronger than a woman. That doesn't carry weight to me at all. Because I think of things that women can do that are better than what I can do, and think that carries more weight than somebody that has a stronger physical structure, if you will, because that's how we are set up genetically. But to me, that doesn't matter. That doesn't make one worth more than the other. It makes one more valuable in a certain area. That's it. It's not all encompassing. I can't see you because of the meme. It's taking up my whole screen. Where did you go? Kinsey, I've lost you. Where are you?
I can remember.
God, push the button. Push the button. I'm getting scared. Oh God, there you are. Jesus.
I know. Now
I'm channeling my feminine energy right now.
I know.
So upset.
With that, for me, like the last part, just because of societal, and how I was brought up, like we can't, we can't do things like that internally, viscerally activates me. but it's an activation of awareness, meaning that
So it's
yes,
not negative.
biologically women are different, but
Yeah.
the caveat is our mindset and what we believe that we can do, we can attain.
Yeah.
Because, and just to bring it full circle, like when I was in my car accident, my doctors told me I would never work again, that I would never walk normally again because I was in a wheelchair. There was a lot of constraints, and my mindset was not there because I was not my label as disabled. And that's what I
Mm-hmm.
hung on to. And so,
Okay.
with that meme, I'm not saying that you can't do things. It's what your mind's eye believes that you can do. The belief, like the seeds of resilience, I talk about it a lot in my coaching, is really believing, having gratitude for where you are and surrendering to new possibilities, meaning letting go of your old identity, you know?
Yes.
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 And really believing in your essence, really
Mm-hmm.
believing in your capabilities and setting that intention each and every day. That is what I utilize to work again, to
Mm-hmm.
walk again. I mean, I'm not talking about just walking to the car or whatever. I'm talking about like hiking and whatever, which was never
Yes.
part of my, script after my car accident.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. You know how
Yeah.
they say never work with kids and dogs?
Yeah. Speaking of which,
There's
my dog,
one right behind you. That's why I said, "Oh, look at this. Look
he's
at this.
showing all
Get
his
off your."
junk.
Oh my god, oh, the belly. Give me the belly. Give me the belly. Rar 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 belly. Oh, see, never work with kids and dogs.
I know.
It's an
I
old
know.
it's an old adage that is so so true. No, because you were talking and you were talking about a very serious point, and it was really poignant. And then all of a sudden the dog walks in and shakes, and I know that everybody went, "What's that? What's that?"
Yeah. And he's my service
Love
dog.
it.
I mean, he's amazing and he got me back in life. I was very much afraid to get out in life because before my identity before my accident was Miss Independent. I can do anything. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't afraid of anything. And after my accident, literally my wing was clipped and I didn't feel as strong physically.
Of
So
course.
I lived in that fear of like, oh, I
Mm-hmm.
can't protect myself. I can't whatever. And so when I got my service dog, he got me the gift of being back in the world, which parlayed into my speaking, into my
Mm-hmm.
coaching. So there's gifts everywhere, whether it's with an animal, whether it's with a mentor, there are so many gifts and seeds in this world that once we give ourselves permission to accept those gifts, we can parlay that into where we project our essence to go. So it's super
Mm-hmm.
powerful.
It is. And I when I was reading that meme that we were looking at,
Mhm.
it was a very there was a very like neutral feeling that came
Mhm.
over me, a very accepting feeling because I don't know if it's just naturally me. I think part of it is the way I grew up with my father because my
Mhm.
father was a very a dignified person and treated everybody fairly. It didn't matter, what color or what sex or what height or what weight. He just saw the person. And I think that, again, we were talking about what we glean getting passed down to us. I think that
Mhm.
was one of the good things that I did get passed down is that I just want to look at the person. I don't care who they are or what they do. But we can notice that there are strengths and structures in that other type of person that is in front of us that are beneficial to us as friends and just mankind in general.
Yeah.
So,
And I
yeah.
think it's
And I can't
important. I think it's important to really look at, like, if you, as a woman,
imagine what it was like for you.
yeah, it, it just as a woman, like reading that, if you got activated, it really gives insight of the biases, of the struggles that you went, because like you can't do that is what viscerally did that, because like when I was going to college, I was going to go into ROTC and sign up for, I believe it was the Army or Air Force. I can't really remember which one. And my father was like, no, you're not going in the military. You can't do that. At that time, I took it as I was a woman, so I couldn't. Now, I wasn't
Oh.
quite wrong with that. I found out later, not directly him saying it, but he related that the traumas that some women experienced in military, he didn't want me
Mhm.
to, he thought I would be very much a target. So that was his way of protecting me. Um,
Mhm.
and so that is like a situation that's why that viscerally like hit me, like, you can't do this. And that's where I
Mhm.
got that Miss Independent persona for so many years, because I'm like, I can
Mhm.
do
Yeah.
whatever. You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with that.
No,
But
there's nothing wrong with that gumption. Absolutely. You want to
yeah,
have that moxie to, push you forward, but it's also accepting the differences.
yeah,
Because in
exactly.
any of the things that you've talked about that you have wanted to push yourself forward on, do not infringe on any sort of masculinity.
No,
You're just trying to be the best you can be, and you're trying to make people good around you.
right,
There's no problem with that. It's a great thing.
right.
So,
Well,
well,
and
I
I've
think we actually
noticed,
covered that well.
yeah. I think men and women, though, we live in the constraints of, because we feel that to succeed in this world, we have to live in the masculine, meaning we have to live in the structure of the
Yeah.
of the organizations, of the whatever, and then we lose part of ourselves because we don't allow the flow within ourselves to guide us. And so um I really, even when I coached men, I really spoke upon, you know, really embracing the feminine flow to really guide you. Yes, you have structure, you have that masculinity, but if you don't have that internal compass of where you want to go, that flow, then
Mhm.
you'll just do what is expected, or what is
Mhm.
your beliefs will, that auto default, ego driven,
Mhm.
chatterbox that keeps you in that space. But when you really dive deep in your essence and allow the flow to guide you with your values and your beliefs,
Mhm.
and really becoming aware of how you tick, that's super, super, super powerful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think if we say flow one too many times, we're gonna have to pay Mikhail Csikszentmihalyi
I
some sort of
know.
royalty on that. And if you need to learn who Mikhail Csikszentmihalyi is, first of all, learn how to spell it. Then after you spell it, learn how to enunciate it. But before all of that, just go check out the book Flow, because I know you've read it. I don't even have to ask you. I know that you have. I've read it twice. I read it in college and then out of college. And yeah, getting that flow is very, very key. And you were talking about the having some masculine flow, but having it be positive, and then men having some feminine flow and having that be a positive thing. And it truly, truly is, because anything that is all just to one side, whether
Mhm,
it's, political or sexual or whatever, it's generally not good. And
mhm.
I always like to say, nothing is 100%. Even gold bars are only 99.9.
Right.
So having it all be one thing is probably not the best. When you have superheroes, men or women, it doesn't matter. They're usually pretty diverse. They're not just a one trick pony.
Yeah. And I think
So,
that people, because I'm a women's empowerment coach, people automatically, some people automatically is like, oh, she's a feminist. And it's like, no, I'm a humanist, meaning there's an
mhm,
interconnectiveness, meaning that if we help rise each other up, raise each other up, we
raise
can.
it however you want to say it.
I know. It's like with all my congestion, like the words are not coming out,
And the
but
massive amount of decongestants and
I
allergy
know.
medication you're on. I'm
I
surprised you're
know.
getting English out right now.
I know. But I thought about it, I'm like, well, maybe like, March, April, and May, I should like live somewhere else. But I think everybody's having allergies right now.
You're not going to be a snowbird. You're going to be an allergy bird.
I know.
You're like, I'm out of here. That's it.
I mean, my car looks like a big pollen dust ball. I mean, it's like.
That's a very clean way to say that.
Yeah.
That is a very, very clean way to say that. All right. Well, I think we're coming up on time, so we don't burden the people.
We're not burdening. No.
I hope not. I hope that somebody is enjoying this, because you and I do this so that we can let people know that they're not alone. That if you're living in this vestibule that we're living in this age, in this transformation, and you're having issues, you're not the only one that's having issues. Yeah. Find yourself a coach, find yourself a counselor, find yourself some positive things online, whether it's us or anybody else. If it's going to be positive for you, that's what we want to do.
Right.
So,
yeah, I just really think that the more that we know ourselves, know our values, know our boundaries, the more we tap into the compassion of our heart, man or woman, that we can really cultivate a world that's worth living in. Not this decisiveness, not this, pulling each other apart based on religion, based on gender, based on where we grew up, like what country. I think that was super powerful in the age of the epidemic, because I had friends all over the world because of Zoom world.
Yeah, there was attributes and detriments to that for sure.
There was. You know me, I always look at the silver lining. So I'm just so honored and blessed to be here with you. And everybody, this isn't a monologue, it's a dialogue. We really want your input, what questions, what you want to talk about, and we'll talk about it in upcoming episodes. Yeah. This is just our way to gain new perspectives.
Yeah.
And really empower yourself to be the best version of yourself, because that's my goal for everybody I coach and what I do when I speak. And I know that's very much, a driving force for Bob. So subscribe, do all that fun jazz.
All that fun jazz.
All that fun jazz.
Yes. We'd love to hear from you. So, write something in, tell us what you want us to talk about, give us a subject, and we will bounce it around for you. So we'd be happy to do it.
Yes.
That's it.
Yep. So you guys have a wonderful evening. And as always, it was a pleasure. Kinsey and Bobby out. We'll see you next week.
See you then. Bye, everybody.